Greetings and welcome to what is the last major video of the North Korea series. I plan to upload a few extras, but you could say that this is where this video series ends. If you have any questions, now is the time to leave them for me in the comment section. I plan to gather all your questions and make a Q&A video. Because I know North Korea is an intriguing country because it's so hermetic. There's a question that several of you have asked me and that I can answer now. Why have I taken so long to upload videos? I thought I would have uploaded them by January at the latest. The reason why it has taken me so long to upload the videos is none other than this right here. My first book, Secret Russia, in collaboration with the publisher HarperCollins. It's a book that I'm very excited to present to you. It's a collection of 7 journeys from some of my trips, mostly around Russia in remote, inhospitable places. Even though additional trips are available in the Chernobyl area in Belarus and North Korea itself. The pre-sale for the book opens today on Amazon. Anyone can buy it in advance now. It will be published on May 7th. I'll leave the link down below. And that's all. As I said, leave any questions you have in the comments so I can answer them. And for all of you who want to have a written memory of my adventures or my travels, head straight to Amazon to buy the book. And now, let's get into the video.
Children are the treasure of our country. The Korea of the future will be for our children.
And these are the spectacular views of Pyongyang at sunset. Look at the huge rocket they have here. This is the closest we're going to get to a visit to a Korean supermarket. The beer bar full of rice beers, 8 different kinds. Kim Jong-un towards final victory. Cheers, fish with Korean beer. After taking a morning walk through Moranbong Hill Park, inspecting the insides of the captured American ship, and visiting the famous Pyongyang metro system, we continue the 4th day's visit at one of the most iconic places in the capital. Wow! Finally, another highly anticipated moment, Kim Il-sung Square, known as Kimenser in Russian. Known for its military parades and all kinds of major event activities, it is the most famous square in all of North Korea.
There we have the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Agriculture. And right in front of us, we have the Ministry of Economy.
I'm going to do a panoramic shot. Over here, some tourists, women, groups of women, tourists it seems. This is how it looks. People walk around calmly and cars crossing the street. Across the square, you can see the monument to the Juche idea, the ideology that has been applied here, encompassing the social, economic and political system. I think all of you have seen these parades, almost everyone, and whoever hasn't seen them will surely be surprised. They are very characteristic, orderly, disciplined, coordinated, and display all kinds of armaments, from intercontinental ballistic missiles to machine guns are mounted on tractors. The army seems to have issued another Korean proclamation with the soldiers. Well, and a few others, right? There are scientists and also farmers. Located in the heart of Pyongyang, Kim Il-sung Square is one of the iconic places in North Korea. Inaugurated in 1954, a year after the armistice between the two Koreas, it was conceived as a space to host mass gatherings, military parades, and political events, steeped in North Korean ideology and history. With approximately 75,000 square meters of surface area, the square is located on the banks of the Taedong River, right in front of the Juche Ideas Monument, which looks at the square as if it was a beacon that lightens Korean society. The famous and impressive military parades that often appear on the news whenever they are held take place in this square. But there are also gatherings of citizens who perform meticulously orchestrated choreographies to the sound of music, usually with a patriotic theme that praises the way of life and the ideas of the country. These kinds of shows are more common than I imagined and are not only reserved for the most significant dates. If you pay attention to the ground in the square, you'll see that it's full of marks and numbers whose only purpose is to guide the participants in these massive shows. As our guide mentioned, in it stands the Great People's Study Palace, whose facade displays the 2 enormous portraits of the grandfather and father of the current leader. Also, several ministries and other government institutions. That at the same time, proclamations are installed on the cornices of buildings in North Korea, with phrases like, "Long live the glorious Workers' Party of Korea," "Long live the Democratic People's Republic of Korea." Let us further strengthen the unity of the party and the revolutionary ranks, or the sun will always be with us. The metaphor, which refers to the sun, plays a significant role in North Korean rhetoric. Kim Il-sung is presented as the leader who enlightened Korea, particularly after the Japanese occupation. His legacy is tied to the notion that he is the nation's source of life and prosperity. As an essential guide for the people, just as the sun plays an essential role for each of us. This idea was extended to his son, Kim Jong-il, and to get an idea of the importance of this metaphor, One of the most significant holidays in Korea is the so-called Day of the Sun, April 15th, the birthday of Kim Il-sung. Right after, the guides took us about 200 meters down the main street, which led from the square to a small bookstore. On their way there was a constant flow of cars and people, from vans with loudspeakers to young pioneers coming back from school. A brief glimpse of the controlled everyday life offered in these travel packages. We even got a quick look at the window display of a grocery store. We're taking a walk through the streets of Pyongyang from the square. Here you have posters that you can see in stores where Koreans shop, not tourists, and we're not allowed in here. But this is what it looks like. This is the closest we're going to get to visiting a Korean supermarket. Buns, chips, other kinds of sweets, and the girls there dressed in aprons, the cashiers, all well uniformed here. It seems that in this country, everyone is well uniformed. Look at the newspapers they have here, the Korean ones, with the Minister of Defense, with Shoigu, from September 14th. We just entered a bookstore with books in different languages. You can see literature by the Korean leaders and some historical books as well. Besides some drawings for children's books. Great person. And here, the leader of the people. Most of the literature they offer here is in Russian, although you also have some in French. You can see there French, Spanish, German, Japanese, Chinese, and English. Wow, and this I really didn't expect. There's a television here showing a Champions League soccer match, Madrid Athletic versus Milan Inter. It's obviously something recorded that they must have bought. This is the little symbol of Korean television. Let's see what they have in Spanish. Kim Jong-il, selected works. Kim Il-sung, complete works. Kim Jong-un, towards the final victory. This is the current leader, the president. Let's see how it starts. Let us bring the revolutionary cause of Juche to a happy conclusion, exalting the great comrade Kim Jong-il as the eternal general secretary of our party. Let us fight vigorously for the final victory, holding high the banner of Jong-un. With great national pride and dignity, today we solemnly celebrate the military parade in salute to the centenary of the birth of the great leader, Comrade Kim Il-sung. May the youth achieve merits in the construction of the socialist power. Kim Jong-un, Kim Il-sung. Public Health Law of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. How curious. Here you have all kinds of literature on which this economic system is based from the middle of the last century to the present day, also with the current president. Look at the one that refers to public health, according to Article 1 in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The work of public health is a revolutionary, worthy, and honorable task that aims to protect the lives and promote the health of people, who are the masters of nature and society, the most precious beings in the world. And that ensures all workers a long and healthy life, so that they can make an active contribution to the cause of socialism and communism. Article 3 is very interesting. I'm not going to read the whole book, but it interests me. The main thing in socialist medicine is prevention. In public health work, the state firmly adheres to the orientation of preventive medicine to the embodiment of the principles of socialist medicine. We could be reading here for a whole year, with all the bibliography there is. And look, if you were wondering what children read here in North Korea, how did the hedgehog beat the tiger? And not everything has to do with pure economics and organization. There is also literature about musical art, as you can see here, and choreographic art. I took a look at this one about musical art. The index. In the era of Juche, a new type of music is required. Juche is the life of our music. The revolution needs good songs. Performance. Play passionately. The performer must be an excellent creator. The music must be diverse. The conductor commands the musical ensemble. The process by which these works became indispensable for all Koreans took place in the years following the Korean War, during a period when the different factions within the Workers' Party were fighting to impose their points of view. In the late 1960s, Kim Il-sung triumphed over pro-Chinese and pro-Soviet factions. He increasingly distanced himself from orthodox Marxism, giving prominence to his self-developed Juche ideas of self-reliance and leader worship. In the 1950s and 1960s, literature was utilized to strengthen the regime, including through the implementation of the Joseon Writer's Guide. The text stated that literature should serve as a revolutionary weapon to educate the masses in the party's ideology rather than being used for individualistic purposes. The hero of the works had to be a model of socialism, embodying loyalty to the great leader and sacrifice for the country. And all the works had to glorify the role of Kim Il-sung in the liberation of Korea. This guide was an ideological manual for North Korean writers in the 1970s. With the path cleared of opponents for the Kim regime, these guidelines were further strengthened, materializing in the Juche Literature Guide, which Kim himself presented in his speech titled On Literature and Art in 1973. This guide emphasized the leader and dynasty's glorification, loyalty, sacrifice for the common cause, and the rejection of decadent bourgeois, romantic, and individualistic literature. One of the classic examples is the work The Fate of a Man, where a soldier achieves his goals and overcomes difficulties thanks to his faith in the party and the leader. Another work that cannot be missing in a North Korean household is In the Course of the Centuries. Kim Il-sung's multi-volume autobiography recounts his journey to power and the battle against Japanese imperialism, and which nearly every household owns it in encyclopedia form. But also titles like The Florist, about a young woman finding hope in the revolution during Japanese rule. The Guerrilla's Children, or No Mercy, where alleged war crimes by the Americans are exposed. While during the era of Kim Il-sung, the novel was the preferred genre, under the leadership of his son, after the fall of the Soviet Union, poetry became more prominent. The works of the leaders play an essential role in the country's literary offerings, although they do not make up all of it. However, foreign works that openly deal with politics or religion are prohibited and persecuted. According to some testimonies, Western books such as Sherlock Holmes, Gulliver's Travels, Robinson Crusoe, Alice in Wonderland, Gone with the Wind, and others have even reached North Korea, as well as other Western, Chinese, and Russian novels that have been officially approved and translated. Among Koreans who speak English well, knowledge of foreign literature is greater, and works like Harry Potter have even become popular. Next stop on this itinerary through Pyongyang, the Palace of the Pioneers. The pioneers are those groups of students who start at 9 years old, if I'm not mistaken, through which children become young adolescents. They receive a red scarf and engage in various activities. They are already introduced to the party, its importance, and the Juche ideas, among other things. Look at those huge murals on the sides of the palace. With the children, the teenagers dressed as athletes, gymnasts, soccer players, with the classic pioneers' uniform and of course the red scarf tied around their necks. It could be summarized as the first serious contact that North Korean citizens have at a very young age. Before becoming fundamental parts of this economic, social, and cultural machinery that revolves around adapted Marxist ideas. Right? The idea of Juche. Look, what a tremendous sculpture there is here, with children dressed as astronauts, musicians, soldiers, and two winged horses pulling the sleigh. And here, at the entrance of the palace, the leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. And now we've been welcomed by a little pioneer who is going to give us a tour of this palace.
On the plaques, it is written that our great leader, Comrade Kim Il-sung, was here 6 times. Our great General Kim Jong-il 3 times, and our respected Marshal Kim Jong-un 6 times.
Wow. A huge hall, a massive lamp. And the inscription here is huge.
In front of you, the writing of our great leader, Kim Il-sung. Children are our country's treasure, and the future of Korea belongs to our kids. Kim Il-sung, April 15, 1989. This way. How old are you? 12?
Do you see that they have different photos hanging? Look at the huge rocket they have here in part of the hall. This palace is divided into different areas from what we've been told. This first area is for scientific development, featuring a rocket in the background. The building's decoration gives off a school-like atmosphere, don't you think? Like a kindergarten, but here they take everything much more seriously. I mean, these are more serious things, on a higher level. Everything is decorated with colors, and the couches come in various hues. It's like a mix between seriousness and elementary school, you know, from childhood. The pioneers movement originated in 1922 at the dawn of the creation of the Soviet Union, with the establishment of the organization then called the Socialist Youth Pioneers. The aim was to gather youth and teach them communist and socialist principles. The movement was adopted in Korea after the Japanese occupation in 1948 and has since been a fundamental part of North Korean society. It transmits the Juche ideology to the next generation and reinforces the cult of the leader. Meanwhile, various subjects like sports, technology, singing, dancing, calligraphy, drawing, and music are developed. Membership is mandatory for children between 9 and 15 years old, at which age they stop being pioneers and move on to the Kim Il-sung Youth League, a higher-level organization where they can continue until the age of 30. The organization is supervised by the Workers' Party of Korea, and it is estimated that almost all school-age children are members of it. During these years, they study Juche ideology and engage in political activities supporting the regime. They volunteer on farms and in factories to aid the country's development and visit historical sites. They take part in cultural activities like singing, dancing, and theater, and recreational activities such as trips, camping, and sports. The uniform consists of a shirt, pants or skirt, and the classic red scarf, which was also used in the Soviet Union. The Mangyongdae Schoolchildren's Palace, which is the real name of this building, was built in 1989, although the renovation we see is from 2015. Where that cheerful and colorful touch was added to decorate the walls. The building's interior features over 120 classrooms, a pool, observatory, gym, basketball and volleyball courts, driving lesson space, and a 2,000-seat theater. The palace is aimed at children from 6 to 17 years old, selected to continue improving their performance in extracurricular activities considered valuable for the country. They are chosen based on academic results, but also on other factors, such as their families' loyalty to the regime and political commitment, making this a place that is not accessible to everyone. It serves as an elite space that reinforces its ideological values while training the nation's future leaders, scientists, athletes, and artists. This is how pioneers train. They push them very hard. You can see the boys playing volleyball, the girls are back there, and in the background, basketball. It's the same, there's a division between boys and girls. This dedication and pursuit of the best in every field is one of the reasons why a country modest in population and resources has become a nuclear power. To send satellites into space or to stand out in various sports disciplines, in world championships and the Olympics. Since their first Olympic participation in 1964, North Korean athletes have won 58 medals, particularly in sports like boxing, judo, gymnastics, wrestling, or weightlifting, a field in which they have proven exceptionally skilled over recent decades. There you have it, a typical physics class with the classic two-train collision problem. That's how it appeared to me. Look at that, eh? And Saturn here on the floor. How curious, why Saturn? Look, the android symbol, right? If it's not him, it looks a lot like it. Take a look at what they have on display here. These are some of the works that these pioneers have created during their stay here. Here it says the age, I imagine, a 10-year-old boy or girl. Look at the quality of this amazing piece of art. At 10 years old. At 8 years old. This is what it means to have talent. 11 years old. Another one who's 11 years old. The guide makes me laugh, always calling for us to hurry up. Observe this classroom with computers. One boy is using a drawing program to draw a tank, while a girl is editing a photo of two puppies, I guess, using Photoshop. Computer science class for the pioneers. And on the screen, you can see that they have 6 types of programs: Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Video, Photo, and Flash animation. The Palace of the Pioneers is huge. I took a look at this aerial view map. That's where we came in. Oh, it has a gym there, an indoor swimming pool, and a park around it. Well, incredible. Have you already seen the pioneers there studying different computer programs? And it's super interesting that the operating system they use here in North Korea is the open source Linux operating system, a Korean version that they have adapted themselves. Being such an isolated country, so closed off from the rest of the world, all those programs we're used to from Apple or Windows operating systems aren't commonly used here. That's why they have their own operating system. The operating system they use in North Korea is called Red Star. Red Star is a Linux-based open-source operating system that started development in the early 2000s, with the aim of having a national operating system and reducing dependence on foreign nations. Before its appearance, Korean versions of Windows were used, so the first prototypes of Red Star resembled it. The latest versions have a more similar appearance to the Mac operating system, and include default software. These include a web browser for the national intranet, music and video players, and educational games for school children, among other things. It also includes a suite of applications similar to Microsoft Office, with a word processor, spreadsheet, presentations, and drawing tools, which is what the kids were studying in class. It also has strong content control, which allows or denies access to certain sites and documents. In addition, it can generate a watermark on documents to allow tracking and identify the user who has shared them. Despite the limitations that the computer technology they use in their daily lives in North Korea may have, this has not prevented them from building one of the most skilled and feared digital armies in the world. In recent years, there have been several incidents that have put the issue of North Korean hackers in the headlines of major media outlets. Unit 121. The Lazarus, Kim Suk-ki, and Andariel groups are accused of coordinating attacks like the one against Sony Pictures in 2014 in response to a movie ridiculing the North Korean regime, or the so-called WannaCry that infected thousands of computers globally, causing millions in losses. They're also notorious for stealing $87 million from the Bank of Bangladesh and an estimated $3 billion in massive cryptocurrency thefts. These are some of the activities attributed to this army, although it's difficult to track them and prove it was them. What is clear is that this is a well-prepared group on par with other major powers, made up by the country's elite, whose goal is to generate income, steal information, and carry out espionage operations. As we continue with the visit, we were able to see how the students practice different areas related to music, such as dance. So tiny, and how synchronized they are, and their current dancing ability, but also singing lessons. Or classes to practice an instrument like the classical guitar. The accordion. And even the gayagayam, an ancient traditional Korean instrument. We're having nothing but concerts here today at the Palace of the Pioneers. Oh my, look at this huge indoor pool that I saw earlier on the map.
Here it is, wow.
They're so small and already diving off the board. You can tell they show us with a lot of pride. The palace, for them, is a fundamental pillar in education. And here, next to the dance, the painting class filled with portraits is a stark contrast to the music-filled buzzing class. Here, everyone paints quietly. The quality is remarkable. These kids must be around 12. Cool, now it's calligraphy class. Look. How beautiful with threads. We have finished the visit with a gift from the Russian tourists. Russian sweets, the typical Alyonka chocolate and some other candies. And look, one thing I didn't mention when I came in is that dome is an observatory. The Palace of the Pioneers even has an observatory. This visit has amazed me, to be honest with you. This is the closest I've ever been to the pioneer movement, which I heard so much about during the Soviet era. This is something they replicated here in Korea. Of course, the educational system is shocking. The way they educate is so different from what I've experienced. After the visit, we sat on the bus to go to our next destination, the Juche Tower of Ideas. And again, through the window, images of North Koreans shopping at street stalls, walking down the street, riding bikes, while on the road there were buses and trams and the occasional car and truck. Before arriving at the Tower of Ideas, we visited the biggest souvenir shop we'd ever seen, where there was a collection of all the objects we had seen during the trip, as a last chance for those who wanted to take something as a souvenir. The large collection of paintings in a separate room caught my attention the most. Look, they've brought us a souvenir shop, and you can see that this is very similar to what the pioneers who taught us before do. All these paintings are made by the pioneers and then sold to tourists. Well, I imagine it's not just the pioneers, but also artists who make a living this way, but they're very similar. I imagine they started developing their skills as pioneers and then evolved from there. There are some very elaborate works here. This is what you can find being sold to tourists. Lots of paintings, lots of fabrics. And they're not cheap, you know. They range from 100 euros to 300. That one, for example, will be between 100 and 150. Once the visit is over, we finally arrive at one of the iconic places in the capital, the Juche Idea Tower.
They are plaques from different Juche idea study groups in various countries around the world.
Built in 1982 to commemorate the 70th anniversary of Kim Il-sung, the Juche Idea Tower rises up to 170 meters in height and is made of 25,550 granite blocks, one for each day of Kim Il-sung's life up until the moment of its inauguration. At the top is an illuminated metal torch symbolizing the Juche ideology as the guiding light of North Koreans. This torch could be seen from our hotel window and was one of the few monuments, if not the only one, that remained illuminated throughout the entire night. The panoramic view unfolded before us at the top. And although at first the guides asked us not to take photos or videos pointing at Kim Il-sung Square, they eventually allowed us to. From here you could see apartment buildings, narrow streets, older low houses, the theater, the television tower, and new streets in the distance, easy to recognize because they're more brightly lit than the others. Also our hotel and the island where it is located in the middle of the Taedong River, where we spent our entire stay, as well as the monument to the foundation of the Workers' Party, made up of a hammer, a sickle, and a brush, which represent the workers, farmers, and intellectuals, respectively. The Juche ideology has changed and adapted over the years. Initially, under Kim Il-sung's leadership, it was promoted as a self-sufficient form of socialism, emphasizing the country's political, economic, and military autonomy. In the 1960s and 1970s, there was a process of consolidation marked by the cult of the leader, which continues to this day. In the 1990s, with Kim Jong-il leading the country during the Great Famine, the Juche ideas merged with the Jong-un current, which translates as military first, where they sought to guarantee the country's independence by strengthening its armed forces, and the narrative revolved around the concept of self-sufficiency, even if it meant scarcity. Kim Jong-un's current approach upholds the Juche ideology of self-reliance and leader veneration, while developing military and nuclear capabilities, although with a more pragmatic touch, in which, according to some authors, certain things are allowed in theory that are not permitted, but that are helpful, such as small informal markets in some areas of the country or the promotion of moderate consumerism in recent times. We are 150 meters from the Juche Ideas Tower. That over there is the red torch that you can see shining in the Pyongyang skyline from wherever you are. And these are the spectacular views of Pyongyang at sunset. So you can get an idea of what the apartment blocks look like, some lit up, others dark. And here and there, a few small houses still remain between the buildings. The torch is huge. The monument appears small from afar, but it's not. The Workers' Party symbol is ubiquitous throughout the nation. The logo likely reminded many of the Soviet Union's hammer and sickle, with the difference of the addition of a brush. The Juche ideas were created by Kim Il-sung. It's a revision of Marxism in the North Korean style. Precisely. Are these ideas that make North Korea a unique and exclusive country in the world, among many other things. But that's the system that is still followed today, and it's also why we're known as one of the most closed countries in the world, if not the most. The sun has already set, and if you look at this statue here, there's a small difference with the classic Soviet hammer and sickle symbol from the Soviet Union. And that's because here, Besides from a sickle and a hammer, which represent agriculture and industry, there's also a paintbrush, because a lot of importance is given to the arts. On the sides of this tower, you can see miners, workers, soldiers, farmers, teachers, families. The arts in Juche ideology have been treated as essential for the dissemination of the ideology. And just as Juche has adapted over the years, the same has happened with culture. As I mentioned before, writing, particularly revolutionary novels and theater, was heavily promoted early on. Under Kim Jong-il, cinema and epic poetry became the focus due to his passion for the seventh art. His passion for film led to the modernization of recording studios and efforts to improve the technical and artistic quality of movies across various genres. Some of his successes include the martial arts film Jong-il and Nation and Destiny, about the history of Korea and its division, or Palgasari, a Godzilla-style movie where a metal golem saves his people from feudal oppression. Currently, under Kim Jong-un's leadership, contemporary art in North Korea has modernized and diversified, trying to captivate the audience while still conveying the political message. On the other side of the river, in front of the tower, you have Pyongyang lit up, several recently built districts, well, built a few years ago, and Kim Il-sung Square, also illuminated tonight. Honestly, before coming here, I didn't have many expectations. Maybe I had heard the same things as you, and it has surprised me. In a certain way, I don't know how to explain it, but seeing such modern buildings and streets, it's true that it's not a super developed place. You can tell there are shortcomings in many aspects, but they're still developing anyway. And the new buildings I've seen look pretty good, at least the ones they've shown us. You know, you can't walk around on your own here. You have to stick to the rules of the tour guide, which means always being accompanied and following a specific route. With these views, at the foot of the Juche Tower from the edge of the Taedong River, our guides considered today's visit to be over. They took us to dine at a new restaurant, treating us to various meats, salads, potatoes, and the classic kimchi. It was our farewell dinner in the country as we were leaving for Vladivostok the next day. At the end of the dinner, our cameraman briefly played for us the video he had recorded these days on the television and offered us the chance to buy it for $40. Right after, the guide gave us the chance to end the day with a visit to a place that left all the tourists in the group amazed. We just stopped on one of the newest streets in the city center. We're going to try different beers. We're going to a beer bar. Look at how it looks, calm but with people walking around, very well lit. The apartments, according to what the guide told me, are quite large. Here the apartments are already bigger than the old ones in downtown Pyongyang. And this is what I mean. This is what surprises me. You can see that these are more modern apartments, with more modern materials and also more modern architecture, more in today's style. With this walk, the trip to North Korea will come to an end. Tomorrow we're leaving in the morning, so let's see what we find there. For now, look at what we can find on the street. You see, with the new bike lane, this street is great. They bring us to deluxe places. You can hear the karaoke over there. It's nearly 9 post-meridian and you can see the atmosphere is fairly calm with little activity, yet people are still out and about. Alright, the guide is rushing me. Look, and here the buses are newer. From what I'm understanding, the city is expanding by neighborhoods, and depending on how new the neighborhood is, the buses in that area are newer. The houses are newer, the bars, the shops, everything is newer as the areas of the city expand. This is by far the most luxurious part we've seen on the whole trip. The neighborhood is not small at all. The street must be about 1 kilometer long. We're just estimating, and really, the apartments are on both sides all the way. The new buildings, very well constructions from the outside. I'm not sure about the interiors, but the construction quality is excellent. This was quite unexpected. It looks just like Dubai, pretty much. Don't tell me it doesn't. The asphalt is perfect. Everything is new, shiny new. Those buildings could easily be in Spain based on their construction materials. And here's another proclamation, just a few meters from the previous one we saw. They definitely weren't lying when they say, this is a unique place in the world. And here it is, the Piva bar, the beer bar, full of rice beers, 8 different kinds. 2 of them are dark beers with chocolate and coffee flavors. They told us, and the others. It depends on the percentage of rice in the mix, from 30%, 40, 50, 60, up to 100%. This is the beer we've been drinking these days. Taedong beer. The bar has a nice pair of columns spent on the bar. And what do you think about the glass wall? It even has beer foam and everything. Spectacular? Look at the reception with several barrels.
It's on the second floor.
Alright. On the first floor, you can see that all the Koreans from the neighborhood are here, even though they sent us to the second floor. Hello. Rimhung Avenue was inaugurated in April 2024, and together with the Hwasong Taedonggang Beer Bar, it represents the modernization of the country that its leaders are seeking. The very design of the buildings that make it up, the colors used, the shops and cafes, as well as the lighting and arrangement of the sidewalks, they add a surprising freshness that I never expected to see in North Korea. It was built as part of a larger project focused on the construction of 50,000 homes, of which 10,000 are already available on this avenue. One of the main attractions on the street is the European-style beer tavern, which also opened recently. Although beer is widely popular among North Koreans, this bar is unique in its kind, starting with the concept and the decoration. It has 2 floors, one with a street-facing terrace where we sat. We tried the 10 types of local draft beer they have, classified by numbers and percentage of rice. Surprisingly, we enjoyed some beers in a relaxed atmosphere, surrounded by Koreans doing the same, for the first and only time during the entire trip. These are the beers they have. Delirium, $79. That can't be right, oh my god. The Belgian beer Delirium is $79. This is imported beer. Look at the price of this 750 milliliters bottle, 76 euros. That's insane. And this one 6 liters, 639 euros. That's crazy. Are the fees up the effects of sanctions and being a blocked country? Prices over the sake because of import tariffs? I think we're going to leave imported beer for another day and try the local beer, which costs $3. Hey, they haven't separated us like in other places, huh? There are Koreans here on the first floor too, and here there are also 3 or 4 tables occupied by Koreans. We've ordered 8 types of beer from the menu. We're going to do a tasting. Meanwhile, they've brought us some dried salted fish, a local specialty, served with a little sauce.
This one has 30% rice and 70% hops. This one is 100% rice, this one has a chocolate scent, and this one has a coffee scent.
The dark ones have a little less alcohol content than the light ones, a total of 2.5% alcohol. Cheers. Fish with Korean beer. 100% beer, no rice at all. Second beer. This one has up to 30% rice. To me, they're the same. This one is rice with chocolate scent, right?
This is the one with chocolate scent. It might have hops, chocolate, I don't know.
With chocolate flavor. The beer bar, street and neighborhood were all a surprise. In the end, it was 3 euros per beer and 4.5 euros for each fish dish. But it's typical Korean to have it with their mustard sauce. I think we can end the video here. We've seen a luxury neighborhood and a luxury bar, something I really didn't expect at all. So I'm going to end the video here, and as I always say, see you next time. Bye!